This video was brought to you by Markus Bil, Elbilmek, ABRP, Steurenberg, Kempower and Bilkomponenter. Yo, what's up? This is Xpeng G6 Performance, and in this video we're going to test how good range it has, how efficient it is, check some weight, maybe test some sound system, and then see can it match Tesla Model Y, which is the all-time bestseller. Well, okay. At least the color seems to be a bestseller. So yeah, finally, now, oh, look at this. In the sunshine now, you can see the shimmer. It has this metallic shimmer on it. Wow, it looks awesome. Finally, a press car that is not a shade of gray, 50 shades of gray. This is actually a real color. So, you see here, voila. So, yeah, we need to reset the trip meter. We see there's a consumption that's in startup. The way to reset it is that we have to lock the car and then start again. And yeah, all right, so you guys know the drill. It's a Chinese car with this, well, some bing bongs. Actually not that bad, but I'll show you what the problem with this car is. But okay, anyway, so we'll do the 120 kilometers, but yeah, man, this is just like the 1,000 kilometer challenge. It's, I don't know, man. Look at this. I mean, it registers my touches really well, right? I mean, normal. But when I try to pinch, I don't know what's up with that. Okay, anyway, we'll just go over here to Strandlykkja and back again. Let me see, can I find Strandlykkja? If I just keep zooming S på vägen, wait, okay, first of all, I have slight problems finding Strandlykkja. I know it's roughly here, or there, you see? Okay, if I do this, sending data to China, and then, okay, so when we do this, start here, navigate, you will see that the car will tell you how many kilometers we have left on arrival, but it doesn't tell you how many percent we will have. We have 50%, 182 kilometers. So you have to do the math and figure out, okay, 182 now, 147 on arrival. Well, you dummy, you're Asian, right? You know how to calculate. Okay, let's go. We are on the move, and this is almost unbelievable. We are in the beginning of September, and it is 22 degrees Celsius outside. Wow. So yeah, we have to cruise 124 on the speedo to match 120 GPS speed. You see there? Yeah, there you go. So yeah, the only problem with this car is that it tends to slow down in the curves. Let me see if I can catch it. Like any slight curve, and it's like, no, you can't go too schnell. Yes, slow, langsam. Well, okay, I mean it's not a German car. But let's see here. Oh, a little bit. No, that's too fast. I don't know. This is new. Look here. Oh, we can have the driving info and stuff here. Wait, where have I seen this before? This kind of this layout right here with the speed and I don't know. I'm getting old. Maybe you guys can tell me, where have you seen this kind of layout before? Okay, first complaint is that even though the road is dead straight, the car has some lateral movements. You can see the wheel is constantly correcting. I don't know why. Other cars are not doing this, and this actually makes the ride not so smooth. At least it's not doing the, accelerate, decelerate, typical Asian driver style, but this is a little bit annoying over time. Okay, front axle 1080. All right, whole car. Whoa, 220. Okay, heavier than Tesla. And then how is Bjørn today? A little bit cloudy here, some fog, wind. Okay, we have wind from the north, so headwind. So far, it seems that consumption is 232 watt-hour per kilometer. Model Y is less than 200 watt-hour per kilometer. There's a graph here also showing some stuff. But another complaint is that, when you look at this graph, what is the consumption? Well, the consumption is there. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? Now you might be able to see it. It is tiny. Why the heck is it all over there and so small, huh? What are you trying to hide? You see, a slight curve and then... What the heck, man? Why can't you do 125 on the speedo here? Then it speeds up again. So I have to compensate for this. Okay, look, another slight curve. Okay, it's not that bad over here. Yeah, so I have to compensate and go 1 km/h higher so that the average speed doesn't... No, huh? What the heck, man? Do they really drive that slow in China? Oh, this is a nice road, man. Okay, we're gonna turn around here anyway. And you know, just the constant adjustment of speed, like slow down in the curve. Oh, what the heck, man? Come on, no. Okay, come on, I can accelerate to cancel out that. And the micro adjustment left and right all the time just ruins a pretty good impression of the car, how smooth it's supposed to be. Okay, you can get the smooth ride if you drive manual, but even that sometimes is a bit hard when it comes to how the regen activates, deactivates, and then also how smooth you can apply power. I feel like the whole throttle tuning could have been slightly better. So the car overall is nice, quiet, good to drive, but the auto steer and the software seems to mess things up. Our result from the test, 232 watt-hour/km, but then distance was 64.7 reported. It's supposed to be 66, so this car underreports by 2%. So corrected, we have 227 watt-hour/km. All right, and then we have 32%, so we spend 18% roughly. I think it's more like maybe 17.5. So based on around 88, 87 something kilowatt-hour net capacity, it corresponds. Okay, well, all good, but this is actually a lot higher than Model Y. Okay, but let's try the 90 test then. Now we're gonna do the 182 kilometer loop, so we need to top up a bit, and that's gonna go uber schnell. Wow, look at this. 244 kilowatt at 35%. Tesla, go home. And if you swipe here during the charging session, you can click on this tiny little thing here, and you actually get the charging curve here with current and voltage. Huh? Nice. Wait, can you do this? Whoosh, the whole screen. And then, oh yeah. The strange thing is that this charging screen does not show you how many percent the charge you have. Also, when we look at this in the app, it doesn't show you percent. You don't see it here. You see it there. Why? All right, this time we have to cruise at 93 km/h. LCC is activated. And just like the other Xpeng, you have the gear selector stock here is also the cruise control stock thingy. But you can also assign a hotkey to this button here. See here, to activate or exit LCC or do some other stuff. But let me see if I can find it. There's a funny thing here. If you go to driver assistance, and you scroll down a bit, and you find the driver drowsiness warning. If you try to disable it, it says that DDW cannot be turned off until it has been triggered. But what you can do is you can just fake a yawn. No, go on. There. But that will just temporarily turn it off. But you can also just, now you can turn it off. Always be faking it. We are now at Strandlisja. We have done 31 kilometer, and according to the car's numbers here, we have spent 212 watt-hour/km in the 90 test. That is incredibly high. The graph here also shows the same number, just tiny. What about the last 20? No, what the heck, man? No, huh? Dude, I have to click on it spot on. I think I had a slight swipe, and that's why. This, however, tells a different story. 164 watt-hour/km. So I believe there's something wrong with this number, because if you take the we started with 5%. If we take 5%, no, sorry, we started with 50%. So if we take 5% spend, based on around 88 kilowatt-hour divided by the distance, it should be around 150 something watt-hour/km, which makes sense. So man, Chinese cars, like what the heck is wrong with them? They show weird misleading consumption number. This is actually to Xpeng's favor, because I could just report this as the high consumption and estimate that, oh, this car has shit range, but actually reality is better than that. So I don't know what the heck Chinese people are doing, man, when it comes to trip meter and consumption number. They lie about consumption, they cap the consumption. I should make a rant about this, man. How bad it is with some Chinese cars. Not only Xpeng, also BYD, Aura, Hongqi, all the Chinese cars, they're doing weird shit, man. Well, let's test the sound system. I'm now playing from Spotify, and there's a Teslabjorn playlist on Spotify. Well, okay, sounds good. There's some deep bass, and there's a subwoofer in the trunk. Maybe not the punchiest and not the deepest I heard, but I mean, it still sounds well balanced. At least the bass is not overwhelming, and nice and clear in the mid and high tones. I like it. Okay, next, might want to skip this a bit. It's kind of slow. Yeah. There we go. Actually sounds pretty good. I like it. Maybe just missing that extra deepness and the extra punch to be a real high-end system. Let's try this. However, it doesn't play that loud. Just like many Chinese cars, I'm not sure why. Maybe they just cap it to avoid too much clipping and distortion. Yeah, so I can play the last song now. I mean, it still sounds pretty good, all the songs I test now. Wait, was it this one? Oh, there. We're already at around 2/3 of the max volume here. You know? Okay, I just skip this bit. There, okay. I'm gonna crank it up to maximum and listen how it changes. Well, at least the sound is uniform as you move up. If there's clipping, then suddenly the higher tones will become louder, whereas the bass meets a limit, right? But this doesn't happen here, so there's no clipping at least, but it just doesn't play that loud. So if I would give it score points, maybe a good 7, yeah. Okay, let's for fun test coasting and see how well it rolls. Okay, we have slight disadvantage with the headwind, but alright, disengage this and then go into neutral. There, okay. Neutral has been engaged. Uh-oh, let's hope that traffic doesn't become a problem. Okay, he picks up speed. Going downhill. Maybe I should go slightly off here so we get slightly better rolling resistance. You can hear that the rumbling is reduced now, almost disappears. But it doesn't pick up that much speed. You know, Skoda Enyaq would hit 120 kilometers per hour. Okay, it had tailwind, but the weather was quite similar. Well, kind of there-ish. Oh, okay. But you see, this is a typical showcase of how efficient the car is when it comes to drag coefficient, but also drivetrain friction, friction in gearbox or whatever, right? Other things that actually increases consumption. So when I tried the Xpeng P7 long time ago, P7 they brag about low drag coefficient, but when I did actual 1,000 kilometer challenge, it turns out to be quite thirsty. Also, the range test shows that. So that, which means that low drag coefficient alone is not gonna help. You know, even fat e-tron Sportback has relatively low drag coefficient, but speaking of fat e-tron, yeah. But because the rest of the car is inefficient when it comes to motors efficiency there, or maybe wait, I have to there. Well, okay. Oh, well, that's it over here. Wow, that was kind of early. But yeah, but because the rest of the car is inefficient, then of course the total consumption is still high-ish, despite low drag coefficient. We are almost back at the starting position now, and the consumption is reported to be 183 watt-hour per kilometer. I don't believe it. Based on the percentage here, it's supposed to be around 160 watt-hour per kilometer. Okay, it's 20 degrees outside. The sun is blasting in here, but look, we have. Wait, okay, I have hotkey here. We have seat ventilation. Oh yeah, nice. And also here, if you go here, where have I seen this user interface before? Okay, it's very nice. Yeah, and you can just click here to turn it on, turn it off. Where have I seen this before? I wonder if it starts with a T and ends with an A. All right, we're done with the test. So first here, distance error, 179.9. It's supposed to be 182. So this time with more accurate measurement, we get 1.2% under-reporting. So I will correct the previous correction. And then claim is 181 watt-hour per kilometer. Well, based on this, we spend 33% of the battery. And then as long as the state of charge scale is linear, which I believe it is, based on the previous test I did yesterday on the acceleration test, I calculated that the consumption is 160 watt-hour per kilometer. So that makes more sense than 181, whatever. I don't know, maybe eventually if we would drive long enough and get back to the starting point, then it will be 160, but I don't have time to test that. Okay, now we have to drive until the battery is low. We're at 15%. Okay, it shouldn't take too long. And I have navigated on the dial. We have this temperature control before fast charging. It's preheating or cooling. So yeah, let's see then. Wait, no, I would like to see how many percent I will arrive with. Okay, no such luck. Wait, what? Huh? Now the consumption is 221 watt-hour per kilometer. This is so confusing. Now it seems like the actual consumption since startup is correct, but it couldn't be correct in the previous test. There was no way we had 180 watt-hour per kilometer. All right, now we're charging 284 kilowatt. And here you see the charging curve. It has a slight slow ramp up, but it's now charging at full speed. Wow. Huh, wait, 18%. Huh? We gained 8% already. Wow, this is ultra schnell. Wait, we're down to 240 already. What? Huh? At 22%. See, that has a little drop here. Hope we don't Colgate. Okay, so based on the test today, I figured out that we have 550 kilometers of range. That is actually more than Tesla, simply because the battery here is bigger than Tesla, despite that the car might be slightly less efficient than the Model Y. So yes, we had to wait for Uniper to come out with 95 kilowatt-hour battery, then it's game over again. But until now, then the best range is actually an Xpeng G6. And you know, you have even more space in the G6 than in the Model Y. Oh shit! Model Y is losing ground now. Elon Musk, oh, he's really struggling. Okay, anyway, I think that's gonna be it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thank you for watching and talk to you later.